Since the earliest times, I'm sure there's been a debate about whether to write with an outline or to simply fly into the writing by the seat of your pants. For the latter, the writing process has been compared to many things: a series of epiphanies, a spiritual muse-led journey, and another popular analogy is that stories are discovered by digging around in the creative dirt, attempting to unearth a gem. The biggest flaw in this digging blindly for story method of writing is that it doesn't take into account that you might start digging for your story 100 miles in the wrong direction. And if you haven't done all the necessary preparation to begin, then you have no idea where to start. And once you do, whether or not there really is a story beneath the soil you're unearthing. So you may dig endlessly and never find it, or you might find it quite a ways down the pike from where you started, and nothing that has come before has any or much consequence or worth. So by starting your work with an outline, you know where to start digging, whether there truly is a story down there, and you know exactly which direction to go with it. And everything you plot from start to finish is good and worthwhile. Now, I'm sure archaeology has changed radically in recent years, becoming what archaeologists believe is more of a science than treasure hunting. Do you think archaeologists feel less like archaeologists because of these changes? I doubt it. In fact, they probably feel more like worthwhile scientists because they spend more time uncovering what they're after than in seemingly endless searches for it. And likewise, writers who use an outline spend more time writing a story than searching for one. The points on the slide here prove that productivity is key in a fluctuating state of publishing like we have these days. This tutorial can help you learn how to get a tighter book with ideally only 1 or 2 drafts and to increase your production. Now let's set forth the usual method used by most writers to get a manuscript polished enough to send to an editor. Little or no pre-writing on a story is done. The author has an idea that may or may not be terribly well developed in his head, and generally there's a lot or a little brainstorming involved in this process. So one day the writer sits down and writes chapter 1. Now, if this author is the crash and burn type who doesn't need to sleep, eat, or leave the house, he could conceivably finish this manuscript in a short amount of time, maybe in a few weeks or a few months. But let's face it, most of us do need to eat, sleep, leave the house occasionally, not to mention pay some attention to our families. So a draft of this book will probably take anywhere from 4 months to a year or more to write. So what does this author do now that he has the first draft? Well, now he starts on the hard part of this whole writing process. He got the easy part out of the way and left himself with the torturous work of untangling, sorting out, revising, and polishing up hundreds of pages of a story that may or may not be strong enough or even salvageable.